You're listening to Jonesy's Jukebox on KLOS. That was Mick Ronson. Only After Dark was the name of that track. And before that was the sensational Alex Harvey Band. That track was called Sergeant Fury. I think that was from their third album. And we started off with Thin Lizzy, Whiskey in the Jar, when they was a three-piece.
That's right. Way back.
You did that song.
Yes, we did it, and we still do it. It's actually one of our favorite songs to play. It's, I guess we did it coming up on 20 years ago, but for a while we didn't really share it live. It was one of those songs, and we started playing it again, I don't know, last 5 years or so, and it really works now. We play it often towards the end of the set. There's one of the encores, and people get really bouncy and that whole thing. But Eric Bell, who was the OG guitar player in Thin Lizzy, God bless him, came to one of the shows in Dublin back in the day and bought Phil's mom and the whole thing. So we've had some good connections with those guys over the years.
Supposedly he was deaf in one ear. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's true.
I can't tell you, that didn't come up in conversation that day.
Did you talk to him from the side and he didn't turn his head?
So when I talked to him from the left side and he just kept looking and ignoring me, that was the giveaway. You may be very right. You probably are. I mean, usually things like that are probably rumors for a reason, right? But ever so nice.
Great guitar player. When they were a three-piece, I mean, even on the records, they didn't overdub any rhythm guitars. And there's a few bands that can do that, like Van Halen can do it, where the guitar players are good enough where they fill that hole when they're not playing rhythm, they're playing lead. That's hard to do. I love that when you hear that. A lot of bands don't do it.
And also, I mean, when they were three-piece, the drummer, Brian Downey, he was a little more, as you can hear in this track that you just played, he's a little more kind of progressive, filling up and kind of being a little more all over the place. And then when they got the two guitar players, Robertson and Gorham, the drumming got a little more straightforward, which is fine. I mean, they made some of their best records, obviously, the two guitar players. But as a three-piece with Eric Bell, it was very unique.
Yeah.
Very unique.
I saw them play down Fulham Greyhound in this small...
Wow.
Did you ever heard of that place?
That I've not, no.
The Fulham Greyhound. It was almost like it was on that pub circuit.
Sure, yeah.
And it was a weird joint. It was like stairs going everywhere, all wooden.
Sure.
And the stage was down there. And I used to see tons of band, but I definitely remember seeing Thin Lizzy when I was, 16. And they was a three-piece. And I always thought it was funny that Downey would... What do you call that when you play that way? With
side stick.
Side stick.
Side stick, yeah.
Does he still do that? I mean, I think he does, right?
I think he did all the way up through the career, yeah. There's a lot of really good like documentaries on them. There's a great from 78 or 79, like a BBC sort of one of those real in-depth kind of behind the scenes. You know, it always starts off with roadies moving flight cases out of trucks, you know, for the first 5 minutes and the setups and all that. But there's a BBC or an ITV or whatever. But you can see in all that stuff he's still doing the side stick.
Well, it doesn't seem like you can get a lot of power when you do that. Is that a false?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And again, I don't know if he was the most powerful of drummers, but he certainly kept it steady back there and did a lot of really cool stuff. And obviously was with Thin Lizzy all the way up to the end. But, you know, some of those guys that got reared on jazz music and so on back in the 60s, I mean, they just kept the side stick thing going for a few years.
It was a jazz thing originally?
Yeah, that's where it would come from, yeah. I saw Thin Lizzy in Copenhagen, I think in 77 on the Jailbreak tour in about a 2,000-seater in Tivoli, and they came out in the first song. You know, I was like 12 years old at the time, and they come out and the lights go down, and the first thing is all these police sirens.
Yeah.
And then they're going to Jailbreak, and I'm just sitting there going, oh my God, I've like died and gone to heaven. It was like the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life.
And he used to have his bass with the mirror on it.
That's right. He would hold it up into the spotlight and hit people with it. That was really cool.
Yeah, he did that a lot. I was pretty close with him near the end. We did a song together. We did a Christmas song, The Greedy Bastards, which was me, Paul Cook, Downey, Phil, and Scott Gorham.
Sure.
We actually did a single. I'd like to play it, but
Is that on your list over there?
we attempted it off YouTube.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. When we came to England in '84, and so we came to England in the spring of London in the spring of '84, and we played the Marquee a couple times, and we were holed up in a small apartment in I think it was like was it around Maida Vale. And and so we would go out every night to all those clubs, around Water Street, and go to the Ship and all those pubs. And one night we saw Phil at one of the clubs, and obviously we were all huge Thin Lizzy fans. And just seeing Phil, it was like, oh my God, like he lives. He wasn't in the best of shape at that time, so we didn't interact with him very much. But I think Cliff Burton may have gone up and said hello to him, sort of bass player. I mean, imagine being the third person in that conversation.
Yeah.
But we saw him, and it was pretty cool. And I think he passed later that year. He passed, in 85, 86, something like that, right?
Something like that, yeah. I think he did one more album.
Right, yeah.
But you been to that museum? His mum's did a museum in Ireland.
We haven't been. I remember when they did the statue. And all that a couple of years ago, but we haven't. Like, Dublin is funny. Dublin is just one of those places. Whenever we play Dublin, we always leg it straight back to London after the show. I don't think I've slept in Dublin in 10 or 15 years. Yeah. But next time we're there for a few days, we'll definitely check it out.
Yeah. Lars Ulrich, if you're wondering who the guest is. I didn't say it when we came in.
That's fine, please.
Do you want some more tea? I see you
I always
a bit
want
low.
some more tea.
More tea?
The teacup is empty. It's fine.
Do you want another cup?
I would love another cup, thanks asking, Steve.
Of Earl Grey with the 3 ingredients.
Jasmine, rose, and lemongrass.
Fantastic. I used to drink it a lot. That was my favourite tea when I drank tea, but with a little bit of milk and a sugar. The best.
Absolutely.
And the buzz, it's a good buzz. But it was many years ago.
Now you're a straight-up coffee guy.
More tea. Oh, here it comes. Look at that. Boom. In a proper
thank
cup
you.
this time.
Wow, look at you guys. Look, it's got little animals on it. Very cool. Well, thank you. Easter. Does that say Easter? I don't know what's going on here, but this is working. Thank you very much. This is way cool. And you play, I mean, obviously we don't get Jonesy's Jukebox up in the Bay Area, so I don't get a chance to hear you.
Yeah.
I was telling you before that my introduction to Jonesy's Jukebox, or the vivid memory that was with me for about a year, was when my now 18-year-old, a couple, 3-4 years ago, he was 14 or 15, and he went through his Arctic Monkeys phase for about a good year. And the Are You Mine video, which you gloriously introduced, which is a really cool video. That was literally, I was exposed to that every day for a good year's time. So you introduced that. So but somebody should get like on satellite or something. Get up to San Francisco.
Make it happen, Lars.
Okay. Hey, listen.
If anyone can, you can.
God help us all. I will do what I can. Absolutely. But sitting here and talking Status Quo and Alvin Stardust and the Rubettes and the Sensational Alex Harvey Band and the rest of it.
So when did you get turned on to that? What was you doing when you was aware of all that glam, top of the pop stuff?
Well, I was I grew up in Copenhagen, Denmark, and I was about, I guess, 10 or 11
when it was happening.
Yeah, it was like 73, 74.
Did you get top of the pops over there?
No, we didn't get the TV, but we got a radio, and so a lot of our radio was geared towards whatever was whatever was going on in England, and not just what was on the telly, but we would get like the match of the week, when it was still called the First Division before it was the Premier League, and Chelsea would play the Stoke or whatever,
Leeds,
all that stuff. And so from like 73 to 75 or 6, it was basically for me Sweet, Slade, Status Quo. People like Gary Glitter, Alvin Stardust, Mud, the Rubettes, Bay City Rollers, dare I say Sailor, Kenny, remember Kenny? And
Kenny?
Yeah.
Now you're going deep.
Well, I'm going real deep here. And so it was a lot of that that stuff, Uriah Heep, and then I started getting next couple of years started getting into sort of the more heavier stuff, like Purple and Zeppelin and Sabbath and Uriah Heep, and then it morphed into Thin Lizzy and so on. But for the first couple of years, it was a lot of that glam stuff. And I'm telling you, I mean, going back on YouTube and looking at some of those sweet videos from Top of the Pops or Mud doing Tiger Feet. Oh my God, they're doing that
dance,
the thing where two guys are standing in front.
There was their roadies doing that.
Yeah, standing in front of each other, kind of bopping into each other.
It was an old greaser dance. That's what that was from.
Yeah,
like Teddy Boys, Slash, Grease, the rocker ones.
Yeah, they had their fingers in the pockets. Yeah,
yeah. But I know the video.
Yeah, Top of the Pops.
That's their roadies doing that.
Okay, a world exclusive right here, Jonesy's Jukebox.
But
those were the days, man. That was a lot of fun.
Did you get old grey whistle test over there?
We didn't get any of that stuff. The stuff that we would get on TV, we got Monty Python early, and we got stuff like Coronation Street, and we got
Coronation.
What was it called? Upstairs, Downstairs.
Yeah.
And we got When the Boat Comes In. Remember that?
I don't remember that one, but I know Upstairs, Downstairs.
Yeah. So that was we didn't get any of the cool music stuff. That was more later. I started getting into a lot of like tape trading and video trading with a bunch of dudes, and I would start getting all the old grey whistle tests and the Top of the Pops and all that super cool stuff. A few years, like 10 years later, with the VHS tapes.
So what happened then? Then you moved out here.
I came out here I landed in L.A. Actually landed down in Newport Beach in 1980. I grew up. So music was my passion, but.
Was you playing drums at that point?
I was playing a little bit of drums, but my sort of the day job, for lack of a better word, at 16 was tennis. So I grew up in a tennis-playing family, and I came to Southern California because I was going to pursue in my father's footsteps to become a professional tennis player. And he had some very close friends down in Newport Beach, an Australian tennis player named Roy Emerson. And his son was going to Cornell Del Mar High School. And so we relocated to Newport Beach, so I was going to play tennis at Cornell Del Mar High School, except one thing happened, which was that in Denmark I was ranked high enough to be one of the best tennis players in the country, but there's only 5 million people there. When we came to Newport Beach, I wasn't good enough to get on the tennis team at Cornell Del Mar High School. I wasn't one of the best 10 tennis players on the street that I lived on, which severely sort of through my day, as you can imagine. And then I just jumped headfirst back into, at that time, it was Iron Maiden and Saxon and Motorhead, and remember bands like Angel Witch and Diamond Head and the Tigers of Pantang and all that stuff. That was going on in England. This was in 81 now. And I was just like, I want to form a band and do this stuff and play drums, and off we went.
How did you end up in San Francisco?
That was a couple of years later. So James and I met down here.
He was living there?
Yeah, James was in Norwalk. And then we got Mustaine in the band for that first year. He was in Huntington Beach. So we had Metallica going down here in L.A. in 81 and 82. We played up here, Sunset Strip. We played the Whiskey a couple times. We played a few other places. There wasn't a lot of love for what Metallica was doing at the time. I mean, this was at the height of Motley Crue and Rat and
hair bands,
Steeler and all that stuff. So we did a show up in San Francisco. Brian Slagle sent us up to San Francisco to do a metal night in San Francisco. And up in San Francisco, people were just independent and cool, and kind of there was a real like alternative, edgy scene up there with punk and with, hardcore and with metal, and people were loving Motorhead up there. And we showed up in our jeans and jean jackets. It was the same thing I'm still wearing 35 years later, and people just like embraced us up there and didn't look at us funny. And why haven't you washed for a week? They thought that was cool up there. So we started playing up in San Francisco a lot, and then we heard about this bass player Cliff Burton, who lived in San Francisco, and we started pursuing him in the band. And basically, long story short, he said he would join Metallica on the one condition that we relocate to San Francisco. And we said that was a 2-second decision. And then we went to San Francisco, and I've been up there for 33 years.
You still like it?
Love it. For Metallica and for the way I view the world, it's the best place anywhere. I love it. It's got a very European sensibility. So when you're sort of European and still sort of have that in you, and I guess you to a degree, I mean, it's it's just cool. There's there's like neighborhoods and the culture
Yeah.
and the whole vibe up there. And now with all the tech guys up there, they're all the new rock stars. And
I saw a documentary on HBO about that San Francisco and how they're pushing the techies are pushing everyone out of the city. Is that are they overreacting?
Well, it's good and bad. I mean, like you were saying before. I mean, Silicon Valley, was actually closer to San Jose for the first 20, 30 years. But now in the last 5 or 10 years, companies like Uber and Dropbox and Twitter and all these guys. Oh, it's the fire alarm. Time to vacate.
I am a dialect. I am a dialect.
Are they doing a test in the middle of the interview?
Of course they're doing a test.
Awesome.
But so, like, all those guys have moved up to
Exterminate! Exterminate!
All those guys have moved up to San Francisco now. So, like, the center of that tech universe is sort of more in San Francisco than it was 10 years ago. So it's great having all these people in San Francisco because they're super cool. They're fun to hang out with. They're part of, obviously, reinventing the world and all that. But at the same time, the downside is that, like you said before off air, the rent has gone crazy, and it's kind of a more challenging place for people to live financially, than it used to be, and so on. But it's a very exciting time in San Francisco, and it's a pretty small town. So when you go to like a party or a gig or whatever, you end up meeting a lot of these super cool guys, and they really are today's rock stars. It's kind of fun to be around.
Yeah, I used to love that one place, Mitchell Brothers.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Man, that was a trip.
Yeah,
that
bad
joint.
connection. I can't hear you.
Exterminate! Exterminate! Oh, man, let's play some music then.
Let's play some music.
We have the tickets to give away,
Go
Steve.
on then.
Let's do this right now. We have a pair of tickets for Metallica at the Fonda. It's happening on Thursday.
Excuse us. We're sitting here having a conversation.
Sorry
He's
to
talking
interrupt.
about these tickets.
People, you have no idea how much people want to get their hands on these tickets, so they're kind of waiting. So let's.
I know.
let's-
I've heard from people in the last couple of weeks. I haven't heard from in 20 years. It's
Hey, Lars, how you been?
remember me? I remember me from the back room at the Rainbow in 1994.
I said hi to you once.
Yeah. Well, the whole show, the proceeds go to the Los Angeles Regional Food Bank.
Damn right it does. Yeah.
But Metallica has given us these tickets to give away to our listeners, so thank you very much for that. We're going to take caller number 25 at 800-955-KLS for one free pair of tickets to Metallica at the Fonda this Thursday.
All right, let's play some Status Quo.
God, that's not something you hear on the radio often in 2016.
How about Never?
Yeah, how about Never? Let's play some Status Quo and let's get you up to San Francisco, my friend.
Oh, please, please. Oh, Marin. Or well, I actually like it more up north.
Yeah,
like
you're all the way up in
Mendocino.
like Mendocino,
Really
a couple
quiet.
hours. Yeah, that's
Status Quo. Paper Plane.
done.
Earl Grey
Perfect.
tea. Take it away.